Okay, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, I will give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Harachakwadash. Double honors to the Apostle Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to all the Akim who are tuning to these videos. Alright, so this is going to be a video on martial law and the distress within the nations because, say, I have these two articles. So I'm going to read the title of the article. It says, if others have rifles, we'll have rifles, while U.S. leftist groups are taking up arms. And you see a person with pretty much a sodomite flag, says defend equality. It's pretty much Esau and his blessing. And this article right here is pretty much piggybacking on that article, but it's got higher level Amalekites pretty much speaking on it, and it says this is war. Borat director encourages left to arm themselves against MAGA people. And I'm not going to read this article. This is pretty much this Amalekite saying his 2 cents on said article that I'm going to read from The Guardian. But before I read this article, I'm going to bring out the precepts, because we're coming into the time of prophecy being fulfilled, and one of those prophecies is Jacob's trouble, and pretty much that translates to in today's times as martial law, and all these like civil wars that are going to happen, and pretty much like they're taking place, but gradually. Pretty much they're not up in arms like it's like the Civil War, but pretty much you see the writing on the wall on where things are headed. All right, so real quick, I'm gonna read the precepts on martial law. And so this is Jeremiah 30:7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Because Jacob's trouble is going to affect pretty much everybody, but it's going to affect the 2/3 of Israel more, because pretty much Jacob's trouble is for them. Because if you're doing the right thing you're supposed to be doing, and you have your full faith on Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, and you're leaning on him on everything, you don't have to stock up for food or weaponry like how Esau is doing, or how the other so-called BHIs are doing, because whatever happens during Jacob's trouble, if you have 100% faith, you'll be good. All right, so this is in the book of Second Esdras, chapter 9. I'm going to start at the top. It says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And so with this article, pretty much people already knew that this was happening. They saw it over at the Berkeley riots a few years ago, that so-called right wing, so-called left wing, they're up against each other's necks. It was pretty much just this article was posted on the 22nd of July, year Haragma 2019. But nonetheless, us as members of Great Millstone, we have to see this and measure the time diligently. Like we get this article and we put it on the pile. That's this big pile of information to prove pretty much that we're at the end times and that Jacob's trouble is right around the corner. World War III is right around the corner, and all these famines, pestilences, earthquakes, and the RFID chip, right around the corner. But most importantly, our salvation, Lord willing, that we endure through the end, and we're of that number of the elect. Alright, so verse 3 says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. And here at Great Millstone, we don't just talk about the RFID chip. We talk about all these prophecies that are being they're pretty much happening right now. Like it says in verse 3 here, that the earthquakes, people were pretty much saying about the earthquake that happened pretty much right after the sodomite parade here in the Bay, or in the Southern California area. People were pretty much saying, oh, earthquakes happen all the time, this and that, so forth and so forth. But after that earthquake, it shook people thinking that there was going to be another bigger earthquake to come. But, pretty much we're still waiting on that earthquake. But there's been multiple big earthquakes happening after that earthquake. Some in South America, some in Portland, just you name it. I don't have the website. I haven't been, keeping up on the earthquake news, but they're happening. And also, what's happening is the uproars of the people in the world. I'm gonna read this article, but I'm gonna read these precepts, because the so-called left wing, they're in an uproar against the people, because well, first off, they got these sodomite things happening in libraries. I'm gonna read on this on the article, and you got the so-called right wingers, which I'm gonna point out their hypocrisy as well in this article. They're pretty much up at arms. They're distressed, and pretty much they're looking to kill, just so they could alleviate whatever nonsense they have in their mind. All right, so I'm gonna continue reading down. Verse 5 says, "For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest." And this is speaking because the end of this world, Esau's rulership. When I say the world, it means his era. His era is pretty much at an end, because the world's not going to end because the earth abideth forever. Pretty much after Esau's reign, it's going to be Israel's reign. All right, so verse 6 says, "Even so, the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effects and sights. And every one that shall be saved shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby ye have believed." And that was what I was speaking on a few minutes ago, how pretty much, here at Great Millstone, we're not really a weapon type of people. I personally, because I was in the military, I see weapons as toys. Cars are toys. You can get in a car and you can go race. You can compete with the skills of racing. And it's the same thing with archery. You get a toy like a gun, and you practice on it. And, like I said, it's pretty much a toy. But these toys, they're used as a weapon, as a tool, so to speak, so that it's utilized for Esau's blessing. But like me personally, I don't have guns, and I like, so to speak, I like guns, so to speak, but like not in a sense where I'm a gun nut. Like a Jake, Jake likes shoes or certain types of cars or certain specs in this world that we're living in. But nonetheless, like people in Great Millstone, they don't believe that their car is gonna save them during Jacob's trouble. I don't believe my my skills in a weapon is going to save me, because pretty much I just have to lean upon the Heavenly Father, and He's going to direct me to where I need to be. Because one thing too with these guns is very carnal. Bullets don't last forever. This ain't like a video game. And me speaking, as a person, I know this for a fact that a gun might save you in a battle, but it's going to slow you down after the battle. Because the guns are usually 7 pounds. You got to clean it, this and that. It's a whole plethora of things. And I don't have Esau's blessing. I'm a good shot, but I ain't a perfect shot. All right, so continuing on, this is verse 8 says, I'm going to read at verse 7 again. It says, "And every one that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby ye have believed, shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning." Yeah, because pretty much Jacob's trouble is pretty much for people who have the Heavenly Father's target on them. Because if because obviously a two-third as person, they don't have works, they don't have faith. They're pretty much gonna go through Jacob's trouble like it's some sort of movie, and then be caught in the gun sights of an Edomite. And it doesn't matter if he's a sodomite or a so-called Christian. He's gonna see you as a target. All right, so verse 9 says, "Then shall they be in pitiful case, which now have abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments. For such as in their life have received benefits and have not known me, and they that have loathed my law, with while they had yet liberty, and when as yet place of repentance was open unto them, understood not, but despised it." Yeah, because that's what we're doing. We're pretty much telling you these prophecies, making them as plain as day. The writing is on the wall. They're easy to read and run with it. But we believe, we know that the prophecy has to be fulfilled, because we tell these to people who aren't going to get it, and that's still us doing our job. All right, so for verse 12 it says, "The same must know it after death by pain, and therefore be thou not curious how the ungodly shall be punished, and when, but inquire how the righteous shall be saved, whose the world is, and for whom the world is created." Because pretty much we don't have to worry or ponder or think because we see this article. We know how it's gonna go down, so to speak. We don't know how many bullets a two-third person is gonna get riddled with, but we know it one's enough. All right, so this is Daniel 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. As you can see, I brought out these precepts. They all pertain to Jacob's trouble. The thing that's looming just right around the corner because, believe it or not, Esau's gonna go on a rampage out here. All right, so I'll start reading this article and I'll read the rest of the precepts that I have. All right, so it says the people in the van are members of the Puget Sound John Brown Gun Club. Their stated aim is to fight white supremacy and build community defense in America's Pacific Northwest, and their presence has become a fixture of protests in the Seattle and Tacoma areas, where the group is often invited to provide security against right-wing aggression. The night before, several of them have been called to a liberty in a library in nearby Renton, Washington, where a drag show, time hour, an event series in which a local drag queen or drag king reads to children at library books and bookstores. It was being disrupted by right-wing protesters, the protesters who opposed the event as immoral. And I'm going to get back to, because these so-called protesters, like myself, I'm not for transgender people reading to kids, but these protesters, they have that same sentiment, just like I do. And it says they oppose the event as immoral. And it says held up signs equating drag with pedophilia and screamed shame, shame at parents in their drag kids. Among them were members of the Proud Boys, a violent right-wing street gang, the Three Percenters militia, who were open carrying firearms. And so I'm going to point out the hypocrisy with these Proud Boys because, if you know a little bit of the history of who the Proud Boys are, it's pretty much they're a bunch of so-called Edomites, white people, and they're alt-righters. And the guy who invented the Proud Boys is a full-blown sodomite. So how are you going to have, a group led by a sodomite going to a drag show event because it's immoral? That's just it's just silly. It's just Esau just looking for an excuse to use his weapons, because they went to this event with weapons. And it says right here, it says the Northwest has been at the center of tense political clashes over the last 2 years. The area is an adopted home base for far-right groups like Patriot Prayer, Identity Europa, American Identity Movement, and the Proud Boys, who have organized numerous marches that have ended in violence. In response, a range of leftist groups have organized self-defense groups, and in doing so present gun ownership as a way to protect themselves and others. So pretty much you got to understand that, the men of Great Millstone, like the world sees us as a so-called BHI group, Black Hebrew Israelite group. So the Proud Boys, we got funk with them, so to speak. We have the same ideologies as in terms of not liking transgenders reading to kids, but their leader is a full-blown sodomite. So pretty much they have their sights aimed at us. And then people like so-called leftist groups who are organizing self-defense groups and in doing so present gun ownership as a way to protect themselves and others, they have their sights set on us as well. Because they might be left-leaning, liking people of dark skin. Because there's one thing too, this isn't about skin color, but these people make it about skin color. These people, they have their sights set up on us because of their beliefs. Our beliefs, they're out of this world. Like they don't mesh with anybody, whether they be left, right, center, or whatever. We're not of this world, so pretty much the whole world has got their sights on us. All right, so continue on this article. It says. Brooke Weil, the head of security for the Gender Justice League in charge of overseeing the 101-person security detail for the event, did some research on the club. She told them the event had a policy of having no open carry, that is, no visible weapon, which they were fine with. That's a little perk of my personal preferences. I never liked the idea of concealed carry. I always like open carry because it was like you would see that person had a weapon. Because if you pretty much are going to an event and you have a concealed weapon, you're looking for funk. That's just there's no there's no hiding that fact. You can hide your gun all you want, but the reason you're bringing it to an event is because you're not bringing your Legos at your friend's place to play some Legos. You're bringing this toy to do what it was made for, to shoot ballistic rounds. All right, it says she accepted their offer. Police were also present by mainly marginalized groups. Do not trust them to provide protection at public events, especially when far right groups are involved. Each member showed up with concealed handguns. It says we do our actions proportional to the threat. So when other people are out with rifles, we'll be out with rifles. Nick, the group's de facto spokesperson, explained, in this case, we don't want to appear threatening for the people that we're trying to protect and support. We want this to be a happy atmosphere, especially for a population that may have faced gun violence on the streets just for being who they are. This scenario, in which armed community groups are working together to patrol a pride event and protect it from other malicious and potentially armed groups, is becoming more and more common. There are more guns than people in America, approximately 393 million in a country of 328 million people. An average of 34,500 people died each year for firearms in 2018, and 992 of those deaths were results in police shootings. So this article brings up a really interesting fact that America is just brimmed with weapons, ballistic utensils to shoot out, gunpowdered lead. Whether it be pipe pistols that people made in their backyards or a company brand. This whole country of America, which is known as Babylon the Great in the Bible, it's just ready for martial law. It's ready for pretty much everyone going crazy, shooting each other, Edomites specifically. All right, so I'm going to read this. Is Genesis 27:38. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. All right, so this is pretty much just another example of Esau dwelling in his blessing, because he's a very carnal person. Like, these so-called left wingers, so-called right wingers, they can't come into an agreements. They're just gonna look at each other, and all they want to do is, shoot each other. Yeah, because that's Esau's blessing. Esau doesn't know how to talk. Esau only knows how to shoot. All right, so this is Isaiah 19:2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city and against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And ever since the Red Hebrew Edomites have taken control of the world, that's all we see. When it says right here in Isaiah 19:2, the Egyptians set against the Egyptian, that's talking about the people, the inhabitants of that country. And it's pretty much speaking about the Edomites, because the Edomites inhabit America, and all we've seen is Edomite on Edomite violence, pretty much ever since they've been in charge. And then we're going to see that a lot more, because right now it's a news article, but pretty soon it's going to be on like certain websites where they show gore, or like those those videos where Mexicans are chopping people's heads off, because it's going to be a bloodbath out here. All right, so this is Matthew 24:5 says, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many. And I had this precept for the Proud Boys, because they're over here, they're trying to get the moral high ground on this whole situation. But nonetheless, they have their sights set on us, people who preach in the streets. However, I was going to get this precept over here in Matthew 24:21 says, for then shall be great tribulation,
such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. That's pretty much speaking about Esau's rulership, because ever since he was in charge, we got world wars. Never in the history of humanity we had world wars like how when Esau was in charge. Actually, if you date back to when the Romans were in charge, it was the same thing because the Greeks that were fighting the Romans, those were both Edomites. So it's pretty much just history repeating itself. All right, so this is the last precept I got. This is Luke 21, verse 22. It says, "For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people." Yeah, we're coming to that because everything is gradually happening. We read it on the wall, and it just has to manifest. So verse 24 says, "And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth, distress of nations, with perplexity and the sea and the roaring and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken." Because pretty much we're going to see this happen. We're going to see the distress of nation happens with perplexity and all this stuff like the signs in the moons. All right, so verse 27 says, "And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with the power and great glory." And when these things begin to be, verse 27 is pretty much speaking, like at the end of all of this, you're gonna see Hawashai on a big chariot, and he's gonna, wreak havoc on the remaining people who are still surviving after Jacob's trouble in World War III. People who have accepted that chip. Because these visions are for an appointed time. We see them gradually happen, but these visions are for a appointed time right here. And then after those visions, we're going to see Yahushua come down here, and he's going to wreak havoc. I'll bring out the precepts, but in the reasons of time, I'll just finish off on this precept. As is verse 28 says, "And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh." Because pretty much right here, we see these things come to pass. So, to Akim watching these videos, chin up, because our redemption draweth nigh. You got Esau bugging out. He's actually like, it's easy to say that this is an Edomite because of the blessing he has. He's so-called left wing, but then no matter what ideology he carries, he's an Edomite because of the blessing he has. Alright, so that's the end of this video. I want to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harak HaKodash, and Shalom Akim. We're almost out of here.